everyone. So another really nice, beautiful day here in Portland, and it just cooled down enough to where I can sit outside in my little garden. And I wanted to post this video. I've been wanting to post it for actually a while now, but I've been so busy the last couple of weeks that I haven't really had the chance to get on here until now. So I've really been wanting to discuss, going through the shadow aspect of yourself. I kind of done that or reviewed it in the fear aspect, but I hadn't really gone, there's so many aspects to this kind of work. And so where I wanted to target was the last few years of my life. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, how do I put that all into one video, because a lot had happened, but I was sitting there at work and it was kind of quiet, and so I was contemplating, and then Lord Ganesh shows up. Beautiful ascended master from the Hindu religion. He's so amazing, so humble. I just love working with them. And he says, well, what did you learn through all those experiences? He's like, so you went through the process of your dad's death, and that was really hard, and your aunties. What did you have to learn with those experiences? Well, I had to learn to let go. And he said, okay, well, what did you learn when you were watching your children, your step babies, being hurt the way you were as a child by your father? And there's so many aspects with it, because when I first had discovered that they were being hurt so badly, just as I was, I wanted to run. I wanted to run away from the experience. It was so painful watching it. I was experiencing my own childhood with flashbacks at that moment. I was also staying in a house where it had the same layout as the house that I was raised in and essentially abused in. So I just wanted to run away from it all. It was just so painful, and I couldn't do nothing about it. I had no control. There's no legal control for me. There was nothing I could do. I couldn't be their voice. I couldn't do anything more for them than what I could do for myself. And the pain was so great that I was having nightmares. I couldn't sleep, but when I did fall asleep, I was having nightmares and flashbacks of my childhood. I would look around the house and I would see images in my mind of what happened to me. And essentially what I had to do is I had to look in. I had to see what was hurting within me. And one of my ancestors, or also known as Ascended Master Hel, she is the goddess of death and transformation, which death is essentially transformation. We go from one world to the next, or we go from one way of being to the next. And usually it is not an easy process. There is always chaos involved to bring you through that, to face that other self that is not really you. It's a learned behavior that you needed to survive at a time that was very difficult, but essentially that is not your true divine self. That is learned behaviors. That's personality. And Hel looked at me and she said, you can't run from this. And it was obvious, because the situation that Spirit had guided me to, I was living in it again. And just like as a child, there was no way out. I remember when I was younger, I would run to my grandparents' house when I was hurt, and that's where I got the learning behavior to run, because that was my safety mechanism. I'm being hurt, I'm going to go where it's safe. But that only helped me as a child. I no longer needed to do that. So Hel says to me, The only way out is in. You have to go within to come out the other side. And I really didn't want to hear that, because I knew what that meant. That meant going through the experiences all over again. But I knew I couldn't run either. That was not an option this time around. So, as each circumstance happened, as each experience that I was in within the now, I had to go within what I was feeling, whether it would be fear, whether it would be anger, hopelessness, all of it. And I had to discover where that was really coming from. And I had to remember that experiences happen for a reason. No matter whom is involved in the experiences, we all have our lessons to learn. It's better to evolve through it by feeling it and letting it go. So, watching my little boy cry because he didn't feel loved by his mama. Listening to my daughter cry as she expressed the vicious words that her mother said to her. Instead of running, I had to feel it with them. And I had to experience my childhood pain over again and let it go. So, Lord Ganesh says, so what did you do? I said, I had to let it go. Let it go is the key, but the only way to let it go is to feel it, to experience it again. You have to see where that is coming from. The truth is inside your heart. So I was able to peel it off, one, like an onion, one layer at a time, through each learned behavior, through each ego aspect of the self. I had to go through this dramatic experience of peeling it away, one right after the other. When I got to the root of it all, I discovered that really where all that was coming from was fear. So I had to let go of my fear of not knowing what's going to happen. I had to let go of my fear of the possibilities of what could happen. I had to stop creating that reality that I was continuously creating through cycle after cycle from the fear that I learned as a child. There was so much stripping I had to do. But when I came down to that root, I was able to discover my divine self and my own innate power. My own divine self and love. It's really hard, powerful work. It's really painful, but it's so worth it because you find such peace and freedom once you come out the other side. So I just wanted to put that out there as the main of my work for the last 3 years. You know, first it was actually in a divorce from a toxic marriage. Then my father, the perpetrator, was passing away. My auntie, who was my savior, was passing away. So you can kind of see the theme there, you know, the savior and the victimizer, both at the same time leaving my life. And then having come into to my beautiful babies' lives and experiencing exactly what I went through with my childhood. Spirit makes no mistakes. The Spirit's quite brilliant. And I was in the perfect storm to become truly me. And that's the things that Spirit does. It's series of events, one right after the other, to help you strip yourself of the ego aspect. So, with that said, I'm going to leave this here where it sits, and blessed be.